home internet or your hotspot?
Home internet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're probably gonna call them. So are you able to use watch TV?
No,
Okay.
we can't really do anything because it just like disconnects from everything. So it's a problem, but it hasn't happened in a while, but it's coming back for some reason. So I have to disconnect and reconnect and stuff like that. And I have to do it
Okay.
like a lot.
Yeah,
So,
understood. Right. So we have videos. If you miss anything, you can watch the video, catch up.
Just curious,
Okay.
what Wi-Fi company do you use?
Netgear.
I'm not aware. Here in Texas, I think it's usually like Frontier or Spectrum nowadays, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. But she's in California, is that right?
Right, yeah. Which is
Mhm.
a bit a ways away from Texas.
Mm-hmm.
So just curious, will someone be moderating the Zoom to like admit people also, or is it just auto?
I mean, I can definitely help with it if that's what you're asking. You're like,
No, sorry, I was asking
more of
Dr.
it,
Meng.
so
I think it is
okay.
auto, because like you guys could just join, right? Just to make sure it isn't an issue if people are hopping in and out. Oh, there's a waiting room. Okay.
Yeah, people have to be admitted in.
Okay. Just in case, Dr. Meng, could I be a co-host to admit students just in case they get like kicked out?
Yeah. Do we have a wait? Do you have a waiting room over there?
We can have an option to like remove it in the settings though.
Say it again.
There's an option to remove it in one of the Zoom settings.
Okay. So what should I do? Well, there is a host. There is one host. I can grant it to John, right?
Yeah, I can turn off the waiting room.
No. Let me grant it to the host.
Okay.
Will you do that? Yeah, I'm doing that.
Okay,
yeah,
perfect.
I've
And
done
now
that.
turn off the waiting room also. Oh, it says it's not even on. That's kind of strange. Oh well.
Say it again.
Oh, it says the waiting room isn't actually enabled.
Yeah, it is not. There is no
Okay.
waiting room. I don't know. Is Barry is in, right?
I think so. Yes.
All right. But why do you think there was a waiting room? Oh, okay. Yeah, there is no waiting room. Good.
Okay. Awesome.
I don't have it. But John, you are the host. Right?
Okay, sounds good. I guess we'll start at 5:05. Just let everyone trickle in. I guess in the meantime, feel free to just prep your tablet or phone that you're going to use for the tutorials today. And also on your computer, open up this screen, which should also have the tutorials that you can follow alongside in order to learn the stuff as we go. So I'll put that link in the chat here. And in the meantime, also, I guess, hope you guys are well since we last met each other yesterday, and that the meeting this morning was also good. There should be a Discord link. Let me find that for you. Where is it? Okay, I actually don't have the link. Dr. Meng, do you have the Discord link by any chance? Okay. So Aiden is in the chat now if you still need access to it. Okay, well, I guess we will start now if everyone is ready. So, hey guys, we're going to work on the second iteration of these walkthroughs. And today we're going to cover just a few more complex projects in MIT App Inventor. So again, check out that link I just sent in the chat a few minutes ago to get access to the tutorials. And the first one we're going to start with is called, let me review the name here. It's called Mood Ring. So we'll walk through this project. And again, if I'm going too fast or too slow, just let me know. And we will make sure that everyone is caught up to speed as we work through these tutorials. So let me start sharing my screen here. Okay. Give me a thumbs up if like everyone can see this and we're all ready. Okay, perfect. And we'll just start. Again, just to review from yesterday, we have these elements here, mostly components that we can add here to modify the interface on the user side. And then we also have, if we switch to blocks, a backend, which we're going to have to add for this app. But this has like the brains behind the programming, which interacts with, these buttons. And, in general, here's where we can tell the MIT App Inventor what to do once we're clicking on these buttons and stuff. So to start, if you haven't, get your emulator or device, preferably, a phone. And from there, we can actually start developing. So the very first step is we're going to add a quick handler. So we're going to go to the block section and we click on the happy button drawer and click on this event handler. And we have happy button.click. So just to recap what this event handler actually does is we have this happy button here, which is just a button component. It's just an emoji that we set as a button. So on your phone, when you click on this button, it should lead to a particular response. So this response is what is under here, under the do. So, kind of like what it says, when this button is clicked, we are performing some sort of action. And that's why we call it an event handler. It is basically taking this specific event, in this case, us clicking the button and then doing something and handling, say, that event to perform some sort of action. So in this case, all we have to do is drag it down. And from here, we want to click on happy label. And then we want to click on the set text here. So let me just take this, select text, and then that's all we have to add for the time being, and we can add something here. And to recap what this does is this is setting the happy label here, and happy label is just this number here. And that is going to be set once we press the button. So, the way that works is this button is going to affect what this label does. So when we're clicking this, we are setting that label here to some sort of value, which we're going to specify in one of the following steps. So in this case, we're going to go to the math section and we're going to drag the plus button or the plus thing here. And this basically lets us add two different numbers. So this is one section for, say, a starting value, or, in this case, we could use a previous value, and then we can add, another value on top of that. Say like this could be, say we start 0 plus 1, and then, 1 plus 1 again, 2 plus 1, and continue incrementing it one by one in order to change this value over here. So the next step that we're going to do here is we're going to go to the happy label drawer again, and then take the text, happy label.text, and put it in this first component. So what this does is this happy label here has a current value, right? And what we're doing is we're setting it to 0 initially. And the way, to change this when we load the app is to, say, set this to a random number here. And this would then actually take this new number instead of 0. But of course, since this is just starting out, we want to set it as 0 in order to keep it like as a starting value. So that starting value is what we're grabbing here as our first number. And we can then add some other number to change it in this second spot. So all we've done here is when we're clicking on it again, we click this button, this number changes. And initially, we're going to grab this value and add some other number to it in order to modify that specific value. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm also happy to re-explain anything. But overall, it is pretty much just taking this event and then transforming it into some sort of outcome. So the next part here is it's pretty simple. We're just going to take this, drag this numbers block, and just change this to 1. So to recap, all we're doing is then we take this label and we're just adding 1 to it every time we click this button. And it's pretty self-explanatory there. But this is how we can basically make it so that we're tapping this button and then this also goes up by 1. So from here, we can actually duplicate this. So generally what we can do is click on this whole thing. And I think we should be able to just right click, yeah, and then press duplicate. So we're copy pasting here. Or, alternatively, we can click on this. I think there at one point was a copy here, or I think you can do Control C or Command C, Command V, but we can duplicate these. And from here, we can actually change these to the other buttons, which is what this next step should show. Yep, so we can change this to an anchor button. And we should also change the label here in a bit. Yep. And then for here, we want to change this to set angry label and also set angry label again. And this is obviously because we don't want to press this button and then change these values. We want this button to change the specific value. And this specific value is angry label, not happy label. So from here, we are taking that value and just incrementing it by 1. And similarly, we can do the same for the sad button. Change this to sad button label or sad label and sad label. So that is basically the same thing. And from here, we can just test it out. So does anyone have any questions or want to re-explain anything here? If we don't have any questions, then we will go ahead and demo this app. And I think it would also be good if someone someone has it ready as well to demo it and show the class as well. So let's start by connecting through App Inventor. I will go on the tablet, go to MIT App Inventor here, and scan this QR code. And once it loads, should just be able to share a screen here. Okay, perfect. So here, if it works as intended and we didn't make any errors, it should just increment by 1 every time we tap the emojis. So, we're just pressing these buttons and it is just increasing it by 1. You can think about this as like a rating system, say for like a YouTube video or something else. And when you guys are building your own apps, you can implement functionality like this. Say if you want a platform where other users can rate other users' contributions, say like a video, a photo, any social platform like this can utilize functionality that has these like event handling button properties. So, it's relatively simple. All we're doing is you click on the emoji and it increments by 1, but it is very useful functionality. And obviously this is stuff that you see in pretty big apps, say like on your phone, like YouTube or Twitter or Instagram. So it's quite useful there. But now it'd be great if someone could actually showcase to the class as well. So I'll just call someone here. Let's call Alec. Alec, do you have a demo that you'd like to share to the class?
Yeah, sure. I just need to connect it real quick.
Sounds good. And you don't have to share your screen or anything. You can just kind of demonstrate it through your camera. So while Alec is doing that, I just wanted to know, like, are you guys, like, how's the weather on the West Coast? Is it like pretty warm? Because I think today in Texas, it was like scorching hot because I was like walking outside.
It's pretty warm. Well, okay, warm is kind of an understatement sometimes.
Really?
Like 80, 90.
Let's see, 80, 90. I think it's like
Yeah.
100 right now in Texas. Oh, wait, I know weather. It's 102 right now here. So it's like you go outside and if you're not wearing sunscreen, you just like turn red, just burn all over. Okay, awesome. So Alec has his screen here. And I mean, you don't have to turn your virtual background off. You can just like tap it and we get the point.
Okay. Now I can turn it off. So
Okay, awesome.
I think my screen's too bright.
Okay. Well, I think we trust that Alec was able to make this as well. So yeah, Alec, thank you for presenting to the class. Now we're going to move on to the next project, which apparently was banned or something because they use like a Russian website called Yandex, which gets like sound files. And I'm sure you guys have heard the news about what's going on over there. So most likely this is actually not going to really work, apparently. It's like a translation app. But if you guys want to still test it out, and if we have time at the end, we can go over it as a sample project. But apparently it just doesn't work. So we're probably just going to skip over it for now. But of course, this tutorial is here for you guys to access if you guys, so please. But for the time being, we're going to actually move on to these Snapchat Remix app first. And then we'll also go through the other intermediate projects, or at least some of them. So we have the Snapchat Remix app. And just to make sure, Dr. Meng, we are supposed to cover a Snapchat project. I'll just double check. Yes, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, just to make sure. And so let me share this again. So here we have, again, the same interface. We have a camera label here, which will probably take information from the camera, canvas, which is where usually you can have some sort of input. And we're also using the accelerometer, which I explained yesterday, senses like motion on your device. So make sure your device does have one. Most do, but if you don't, then it might not be compatible. But we have something called arrangements here. I'm not sure if you guys have covered these, but it's mostly for the layout. It makes everything a little prettier, kind of contains everything in this nice and pretty box. And, we have two of them. One of them holds just the picture button, which kind of just serves as a, something you can click, a bit of an interface there. And this one just contains the title, Snapchat Remix. We could even change this to a yellow or something if we wanted to match the Snapchat color. But here, basically, we're going to make a mock version of Snapchat. And if you think about what Snapchat is, it's not terribly complicated. I guess the most complicated thing could be that like you're supposed to I think in theory, I don't actually know if they do this in principle and maybe like encrypt images when you send them so that they're more private and, people can't intercept them. But, that's something that you guys will probably learn, down the line once you're studying CS, say at university or even high school. So I see something in the chat here. Oh, so to open a template, as Ambrose said, thank you. Just go to that website and you should be able to just click on one of the tutorials just directly. And let me just demonstrate that real quick, just to make sure everyone's here. So once you're on this page, just click on this. You can open a new tab or just click on it. I won't do that right now because otherwise it'll shut out this session, but relatively, straightforward from here. So let's make this version. And I guess just for you guys who weren't here yesterday, we'll also quickly run through how to connect the app. All you have to do is click on this connect part at the top and press AI Companion. It gives you this really handy QR code, and you can download the MIT App Inventor app on the App Store or the Google Play Store, depending on your device. And from there, it should give you an option to actually scan a QR code. And from here, you can just scan this specific QR code to connect your tablet or device to the emulator, or not emulator, excuse me, to the App Inventor interface here. So, or you can also input this code manually, but honestly, this is easier. So that's how you connect your device. But beyond that, does anyone have any other questions, any issues? We'll give like a quick pause. Feel free to type in the chat. And yes, like Dr. Meng said, if you missed a class, we have videos in the email chain that you can watch, and it's also in the Discord group. Really recommend, if you are falling a bit behind, to just kind of watch those. Honestly, one really helpful tip for high school and college is watching videos on 2x speed. I'm sure some of you guys already do that, but you save so much time. It takes a bit to get used to, but I'll give you a little secret. Honestly, a lot of people in college, they just don't go to lectures. They just watch recordings on 2x speed to save time, myself included. So that's something that will probably help you, years down the line for who knows, like the rest of your life. That's not like uncommon wisdom or anything. I just thought it was funny because I remember like some older student told that to me once, and I was like, oh, and then I ended up just doing for like ever since. But in general, we'll start with the introduction here, and we will make this mock-up of like what Snapshot is. And like what you would think, you basically just take a photo and send it to someone, delete the photo, or in theory delete it, and it's like a one-time thing. So let's make this. We already have this interface again that we've already covered, and we can move on to the next step here. So let's go back to the blocks, and again, the blocks have like the backend code that kind of tells the project what to do. And from here, let's click on the picture button and press when picture.click, or the button.click. Again, this is an event handler, and an event handler handles events. So when we click on this button, it does what we tell it to do under this do section. So from there, we can take a photo on the click. So let's actually go to this component. So I guess just to give some intuition on how this works, all these components here, past screen one, are connected to components on the screen here. So when we're actually, talking about, camera one, it's not like some vague like camera identity or something that we're just kind of calling out of thin air. It's actually, we are dragging it to this part here on the interface, and it's this specific button that we're modifying, just to clarify. So when we're clicking on this, we're just relating to properties based on this designer here and this specific button. So let's click on camera one, and we can actually take a picture here, and we can just add it under here so that when we're clicking on this picture button, we are able to take a photo. So it will just call the camera and then take a photo once we click on it. So from here, what we'll do again is click on camera one, drag when camera one dot after picture. So, after we take the picture, what we want it to do. And from here, we can go to canvas one, and we can drag the set canvas one dot background image. So we can just take this and just drag that. And again, this is just like basically this canvas element, and we're setting an image here, which, in theory, I think, oh, it's actually not an option. Yeah, okay. We could actually do it manually in theory from the editor. But what this does is once we take a photo, we can actually modify it through the backend. So you don't actually have to go in App Inventor and change it manually. It just will do it for you. So from here, all we have to do is click on image actually. Get image, we'll toss this file because we don't want that specific file. And this is just getting the image that's passed on when we click on, when we take a photo. So again, to provide some intuition here, the after picture is something that people, the lovely people at MIT App Inventor have already developed. So, you could in theory code all this from scratch, what to do once a picture is taken. But MIT App Inventor has made it really easy for you to just call this specific function and just access all that functionality without having to work from the ground up. So this just takes this, after you take the picture, it passes on the specific image that was produced once you took the picture. And then we can just take that image and then set it to the image of this specific canvas over here. So from there, we can also just, follow the code there. And we want to add another event handler. So we click on canvas 1. And so when canvas 1 got dragged, I want to drag this here temporarily. We can add a call. So click on canvas 1 again, and press call, and we want to draw a line. And this gives more functionality that emulates Snapchat. So we'll keep going through this to explain that more. But if you guys remember the drawing thing we did yesterday, this should provide similar functionality, when we play with the image. So here we'll hover over to Start X, and all we have to do is click on get the previous X, actually, not Start X, and just put this next to X1. And then, same thing here for Y1, we just get the previous Y value. For X2 and Y2, we just grab the current X and current Y values. So all this is doing is the draw line is getting a start value, X and Y. One thing we can do is interpret this in terms of a graph. I mean, if you guys have taken algebra before, it's basically, you have a y-axis and x-axis. We can go a certain number of units on the x-axis, certain number of units on the y-axis, and basically plot this in terms of a coordinate to find, specific points. Like this could be, say, 0 here, 1 here, 2 here, 1, 2, whatever the value here is on the y-axis. So we start with a specific value there, but once you are dragging your finger, what this is able to do is this pre-made code will then be able to also grab the current X of your finger so that we're able to draw a straight line, point by point as we go. So basically, you can think about your finger dragging as a series of start and end points that, is continuous. So, when you think about a line, you start at a certain point, and when you're moving down the line, you move sequentially, right? Point by point in a straight line to make that continuous drawing. So that's all that's doing. If you want me to explain that again, I'd be happy to. And sorry, I am speaking a little fast. That is a bad habit of mine. So I will slow down. But overall, this is just how it is drawing on the canvas to emulate those Snapchat features. So next, we have already done this. So from here, we should be able to test this functionality to emulate the Snapchat stuff. So we'll stop to share. And sorry, I was going a bit fast at the end, but please let me know if you have any questions. And we can cover them right now while I set up the app here. Okay, here it is. So here's our app. And in theory, once we click on this button, it should be able to just take a photo. And then that photo will display on this white space here. So let's open the camera. Here's my computer with the zoom. Let's take a photo of, say, like a pencil here, if I can juggle everything at once. Yeah, awesome. You get this kind of weird glitchy effect unintentionally, but we can press OK. And look, awesome. It just shows up in the system here as a photo. And I think in theory here, we should be able to draw like Snapchat does. So we can draw like a smiley face. We can draw like a little, I don't know, we can draw like a dog face, I guess. That was not very successful. Sorry, this looks more like a Pokemon or something, or a duck. But overall, we are successfully able to make an app like this. So now is a time for our student showcase. So let's see. Alice, do you want to demo one of the apps or what you've made actually?
Not really, and also partially because I can't hear much of what you're saying. So it's a bit laggy maybe when it's more stable.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah, no
did
worries.
say about the app, right? Or was it?
Yeah, just the app. So feel free
Yeah.
to do it. Were you able
I
to
think it'll
make the
kick me
app
out
successfully?
if I share my screen.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, there were just like a few things with the emulator, but it was fine. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So it works then.
Mhm.
Okay, good. So since Alice's Wi-Fi is not good, we'll move on to Jack.
I just got disconnected from the companion from the thing. So can I have a few seconds?
Yeah, no worries. No problem.
Yeah, so I can like take the photo and then draw it.
Okay, awesome. So it works perfectly. Okay, thank you so much, Jack, for showcasing your project. And I guess for some ideas for your hackathon, we could maybe think about what other applications would be useful to take features from. I think one good way to work on your first hackathon is to think about what you've learned in these demo projects. Or if you even don't remember it completely, you can always go back to the demo projects to get some reference. But think about what features that you've created so far, like drawing on a canvas, or taking a photo, or even uploading an MP3 file to play a certain sound when you press a button. And think about different ways you can kind of mix and match these features in order to make a new app. You don't have to completely reinvent the wheel, or make something completely from scratch that you've learned off of, say, YouTube or something. You can make a very interesting and very cool app using what you've already learned. So I think that's a piece of advice that really carries over, where throughout your entire school career, you can really apply existing knowledge in really creative ways. So for example, just out of the blue, maybe you could take a photo of something, and then you can market it as like a what's that game, like I forgot what the game is called, like where you basically show like a picture of something to one user, and then you have to like sketch and other people have to guess it. I am like at a loss. I used to play it as a kid though, like on Roblox and stuff. But you can make it up like that.
Sketch and guess.
No, I was thinking of telephone, but
Yeah,
that's
sketch and guess. Yeah, something like sketch and guess. You can make something like that. And Dr. Meng, do we cover stuff like I remember in AC we did this where we can have like the peer-to-peer stuff. I remember at one point. I'm not sure, but in general, you can build something like that in principle using stuff
That's
that you
right.
learned.
That's right.
Yeah. But anyways, we'll move on from that tangent there to the next project. So this next project is a fact checker. I just think it's funny because Dr. Meng's son, Kevin, worked on a fact checking algorithm, which is very cool. I think he did it at UT Arlington, if I'm not remembering right. But yes, this is a very cool technology.
In the Stanbridge, and Ambrose is in the Stanbridge now.
Oh, really? That's really neat. So again, just to reinforce this, if you really continue your interest in CS overall, you can do a lot of really cool projects and really cool research that is on the cutting edge. So, even if this project does seem a little bit, say elementary maybe, or, maybe it doesn't, it seems like super cool. And that's also really great as well. But maybe you guys have already coded before and, this isn't as, super exciting. I think in general, these principles apply down the line to a lot of other fields. And I think that's a lot of, what you can build isn't just, how good of a technical builder you are in terms of your technical skills, but also, general creativity and what you can brainstorm, in terms of ideas, which I think is a discrete, although not a completely distinct skill, in addition to you being able to have the technical ability to create stuff. That's a bit of a tangent, but I just think that for you guys, since you got so many years of school left in front of you, to ponder about some of the things you want to do, say in high school, say, you're even looking into like colleges, it's good to kind of, hone in on what you want to do and focus on throughout your time. So back to the project here, we have this fake news thing, and all this does is we have like a quiz, and it's going to be able to help you see if you're good at detecting falsehoods. So same thing here, you can connect the app using this connect screen. Let's see, someone has it on the chat. Is it possible to feed the picture you take into some machine learning model? Yes, there are MIT App Inventor compatible models. I think one uses Google's Teachable Machine. You can just Google that. I haven't used it myself. Yeah, and Dr. Meng just put a really interesting summer camp that Ambrose is in. But if you Google MIT App Inventor, computer vision, or machine learning, you should be able to see a lot of resources pop up. So there are a lot of people who've worked on this. If you don't want to go through the hassle of setting up a Python environment, although I do recommend you explore it, especially if you do it so early on, you can get really good at it pretty fast. You can use Google's Teachable Machine, which helps you build models. I think it uses TensorFlow, but you don't have to actually code anything because it's all interactive on a screen. In fact, let's just actually send a link here, or maybe it's better to just do App Inventor. Oops. So I'm not sure about the exact implementation based on the Snapchat project, but for sure, if you follow steps like this, you can figure out how to import a machine learning model that you've already trained and analyze the images there. And for those of you who aren't familiar, machine learning is like a subset of artificial intelligence. And generally speaking, when we refer to machine learning, we're referring to very specific tasks that a machine can do better than a human, ideally. So you might think of artificial intelligence as like this very smart, like robot or something that can do everything a human can. That is something people are working on, but in our current day and age, the most useful machine learning models are the ones that can do very specialized tasks, for example, like detecting fake news or analyzing an image to be a dog or a cat very well, very quickly, very cheaply, and perhaps better than a human overall. So there are tools to help people in general rather than to replace people, is one way to put it. So let's see if I have answered other questions. For the person with the Sigma, some pound symbol at like pi username, to find the extensions, I think, again, you could probably Google the ML stuff if that was what you're referring to. If I didn't answer your question, let me know and I can clarify as well. But let's start making this quiz app. So to detect whether the story is fake, there are 4 main elements. We have a question here, which will pop up, I believe. We have an image, and we also have possible answer choices, as well as general feedback, which I think we'll show somewhere here as a label or text box. So let's start here. So what we can do here is go to the block section, and we already have a lot of this starter code, which is really cool. So I guess to go over it in general, we can initialize these global variables. And what global variables are is, I'm sure you've heard of a variable before in CS. It's usually mapped to some sort of value. And once you initialize it or, set it up once, you can call it later down the line in order to use it in different parts of your code. So if we make it global, all that means is we can make it accessible more or less anywhere in the code, not just local to say like a function or, like a specific class, a class being, something basically that you can define as like a section of code. You're basically making this accessible to all sections or parts of your code. That is a bit of a simplified explanation, but that's like the easiest way to remember it, especially in the context of App Inventor. So here, all it does is it makes a list. A list is kind of like, what it sounds like. You have like, you can think about it as like a bracket around, a different elements that we can separate by commas or, in general, distinct elements. You can think about it as like a bookshelf, maybe with like different items in the bookshelf. But, it's just a list of items. Say like, you could even have like a grocery list as an example. So this list actually contains other lists. That's a very useful thing to do in most, in CS in general. And this basically makes a table. So you can think about this list as like one dimension. Say, you can think about it as like a grid, and it's like the bottom, or we'll say it's like the rows. So we're trying to collect, or it might be, yeah, we can define this as rows. And each row is basically made up of another list, and those are separated by columns. So you can think about it as say like 4 elements in a row for this one, another 4 here, and another 4 here. That might be a little difficult to visualize, but in general, it's good to keep in mind that we can take a list and then add lists inside of it to make, to store data basically. And from there, if we have a grid, I think a good example would this be on Zoom. These photos are in a grid format. If you have set it up as like that, then we can, have like a coordinate system, kind of like we mentioned earlier, and, pick out very specific elements by numbering, which row, which column, and then we can pinpoint exact values. So a bit long-winded explanation, but I hope it covered a bit of intuition here. So we have another list here, just of answers, questions, images, and links. So these are basically just values we can grab and access as we go. Sorry, I just had to catch a breath there. But overall, let's go to the variables here, and we can initialize a global name into the workspace. So it also says here that we've already, or actually want to grab 2. Okay, so we've already, of course, have the starter code that already initialized other names. But in general, obviously, most code won't be provided to. You'd have to do it from scratch, but always helpful to be able to start from somewhere as well. So we rename this to index, this to score, and we can move on to the next step. And again, please let me know if I'm going too fast or talking too fast or just anything. If you want to just stop, you can feel free to unmute yourself. I don't really care. Just want to make sure that everyone is following. So here, let's go to the math drawer. We'll set one of these to 0. So in this case, the photo shows score 0, and another one to 1. So just 1. So from there, we just have this that it wants us to do. The index starts at 1 here. And something interesting to note is I think in MIT App Inventor, indices start at 1, like you would think in normal English, right? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, like that's the first apple, second apple, third apple. But in most other languages, they have you start at 0. So I think you should keep that in mind as a convention, depending on which language you use. But it's something to remember because I remember when I first started coding stuff, it was something I'd always forget. So it's good to just keep that in mind for MIT App Inventor specifically. So this index usually just means we're keeping track of something. And score means that we have a value and we can track, a score basically, like in the game. So let's go to the set question procedure. So what we do here is, and I guess I should go over definition. Procedures, you can think about them as functions if you've programmed in other languages, but you can think about these as like a set of steps, or in a way like a recipe that you would have for like a cooking manual, for example, that you can just kind of follow and call over and over again without having to, rewrite it from scratch every single time. So that helps us cut down on repetitive code, and it just makes life a lot easier as well. You can even think about code in the other examples and the other projects when it had stuff like dot like drag or dot fling or flung or something as functions other people have made that we can just call and access without having to again write that code ourselves. So that's something that's very useful in CS in general, writing very concise and very useful code. Because we want to keep things simple. You want to keep things legible for other people, and for your own self and sanity, you want to keep things easy to work with, because you don't want a big code soup. And I think some people think writing a lot of code is a good thing. That shows that you can be very proficient. Generally speaking, though, that is not necessarily true. You want to be able to do a lot of stuff in a short list of lines, basically. So you want to keep your code very compact. But overall, we have two types here of procedures. We do want the one that doesn't give a result. So to give some intuition here, one of them can give a specific output and return it that we can say use later. But this one is just performing a specific action. And that is just represented by the do thing. So that's the one we want to use. And we can call this set question. The reason why we don't put a space here is because in general, in most languages, we have this type of case where we basically don't add spaces and we just capitalize each separate word. I think in other languages, you might see like camel case, we could do that here, but I think MIT App Inventor, they don't care that much. So we can just put it like that. So let's move on. And from here, we can set a number label. Let me find that here somewhere. Where did the search button go? It is gone. But we can click the question number label here, and we can press the set number label dot text. Question number label dot text. Yep. And then we can go to the text section, drag out a join block. And then from there, go to variables. One last thing, actually, before that, grab another empty text. Then go to variables, drag a get block. And then from here, we can type in question. And then get global index, I think. Yeah, index. So all this is doing is this is grabbing the global variable we've already set here. So it would start at 1. But of course, we could also modify this down the line. And all this is doing is grabbing a static meaning something that doesn't change, string, string being text, that just says question. And we can combine these two using this join function. And all we're doing is setting the question number label, which is a component that we've defined here, is basically this, and just call question 1. Or if we change the index to question 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. So this process in general is called concatenation. And you're basically combining one thing with another to create this entire string. You can think about this in a way as like adding 2 words together or 2 pieces of text. And as MIT App Inventor functionality, if you press this gear, you can actually add more components to combine. But anyways, we will move on to the next step, step 6. Here, we'll take a quick pause. Do you have any questions, anything you want to add? Anything you just want to say even? We will just take a pause. But otherwise, we'll keep going. Okay, I guess we'll just keep going. But from the next part, we'll go to question picture button, drag out a set picture button dot image. And we have this image block here. Then we go to the lists, get this select item list, if I can find it. There it is. And I'm probably just going to connect this here. Yep. And then go to variables, go to get blocks. What we can do is just grab one of these and then duplicate this, combine it there. And we want to set one to images. We'll set the first one to images. and the next one to index. And then from here, we can snap this, I believe, to the bottom. Just to make sure, snap the box together so that your new code does this image to the picture, and the image is also the correct index. Okay, that looks about right. Okay, so all this is doing is we have a question picture button. And we are setting that image to the global images list and taking that specific index. So what this means is we have a list, right? And this list is the global images list. And we can actually take a specific index of that list and just basically return that value. So, for example, we have a list of 3 things. If we want to return the first value, we just input 1 here, and it would input this first value. So let's actually have a quick quiz here. Leon, if we have a list links and we are passing in 2, which of these links would it actually give us?
Wait, sorry, what?
So let's say we have a list links here.
Yeah.
And we have 3 of these links and we pass in an index of 2. Which one would it give us?
The breitbart.com/big government one.
That's perfect. That is the correct answer. What if we were using a different language that starts the index at 0, and we pass
it would give the ProPublica one. Okay,
perfect. You are a genius. That is completely correct. So yeah, that's just something to keep in mind. Not a super difficult concept, but just want to make sure that you get down, because you can always make a Keros error there. So from there, we'll finish up set question. We'll go here. So we can just, so we just copy this. Yes, 3 of these, so delete this. Yes. So we'll change this. It looks like actually I shouldn't have done that, it seems. I just have to go manually here. So set link label. Not text. Question label. Not text. And list picker. Dot elements. And for all these, we want to press select list. And we just want to add the right stuffs here. So it's duplicate. We just copy these as well. And from here, you can just grab the right lists here. So for like the links, we want to grab the corresponding links list here and get the same global index. So basically, these are all going to stay the same because they all correspond to the same order number we want. Index here, index here, index here. And for here, we want to grab the global questions. Here we want to grab the options, and just to make sure we have the right list here, links, questions, global options, and we should be good. I'll give everyone a chance to catch up here if you want to follow along. I think someone might have joined us. I see 18 people now. So if you have any questions, feel free to put it in the chat or just unmute yourself, but give everyone a second to catch up. And since it's almost been an hour, actually, we're not done with this project yet, but since you guys are probably tired, I want to take a break. We'll give a 5-minute break and come back at 6 p.m. Central, or I think 4 p.m. Pacific time. So feel free to grab a drink of water, go stretch, do other stuff, and we'll see you in 5 minutes. Okay, welcome back, guys. I'll give you guys like a minute to wrap up whatever you were doing, but we will get back started very soon. Okay, so we just got started here. So to pick up where we left off, all we did was take this set question and add all of these settings. I guess settings aren't the best word. We took these set operations and we just put them here to every specific item that we wanted to modify. And we're basically grabbing elements from a list here in order to take these values and then use them as our reference, or like our source, basically, whether that's say like a link or an image file, or like a question with a specific index. So if we have index of 1, meaning question 1, we can take this question, this image, and this link, and that basically will give us our outputs here on the front end. And I guess just to clarify some lingo, front end just means it's like what the user sees in terms of the interface, whereas backend is like the brains, the code, like backend B for like maybe like brain or something is a easy way to remember it, whereas like F is front for like face. So it's like what you see versus what's behind the screen. So let's move on to the 8th step here, which is setting the first question. Now we're going to first open the screen, and the first question should load automatically because we're setting the index to 1, and it should automatically show question 1 as well, as we have actually added it to the designer here. It's like the default as the initial thing. So what we can do here is take the set question here, and what we'll do is get a control when screen 1 initialized. Actually, we need to press screen 1, I believe. So where is this screen 1 initialized? Okay, there it is. And one thing that might help is to keep this relatively organized. I think there's a way to actually automatically organize this, but we can just put this in a straight line for the time being and organize it later. But we're going to grab this block from screen 1 right here and drag out a set question block actually under procedures. And we're just calling it and just snap underneath. So when we start the screen, and that's all initialize means, we're calling this specific function and doing all of these operations one by one. So the reason why we don't just say move this here is because we want to actually call this say for other events, and we don't actually have to copy paste this code again and again, because it's quite bulky. It's long. You might make a mistake here and there if you're changing small things. And overall, it just keeps the code much shorter if we are able to just define it once and then call it again afterwards. So we just snap this here, and then we can move on to the next step. And from here, we want to display the article link. So we have these sources. We're going to display the image, make it invisible when the button's pressed again. But from here, we can press the question picture button drawer, pull it a when question picture button dot click. And then from the control block drawer, get an if then. And just to recap, what an if then block does is all the, actually, I think we can just grab an if then else because they want us to add the else here, I think. Let me double check. Yeah, so we'll just use if then else. So all this is basically saying is if is something, actually there's a perfect explanation here somewhere. I think there's, okay, so if a specific condition is true, then we perform that first block of statements or operations that's in the then. However, if this condition is not true, then we will perform the alternative list of tasks to complete that is listed under the else. So it's if this is true, do this, otherwise do the other block. So we'd only perform one of them at a time based on the condition we list here. So like, if true, we do this. If false, we do that. So from there, we have that done. Let's go to link label, put out a link label .visible. I think this should just be able to do that. Yep. What's up?
All right, where's call set question?
Call set question.
Yeah.
So it should be under procedures right here. If
Oh,
it is,
wait. Hold on, it's not. Hold on. Did I? Yeah, it's not there. Hold on.
did you define set question?
Yeah, I did.
Actually, do you want to share your screen and then it's easier to troubleshoot to have the visuals?
Sure.
Awesome.
Just one.
Okay, so let's click on procedures again. Very odd that's not there. Maybe one way to also access it is if you let me double check this on my side. I think if you click on it, it might give you the option. Actually, that might just be an MIT App Inventor bug. I'm actually not sure why it's not popping up. It usually pops up.
Yeah, you're gonna save your project and reload.
Yeah, maybe just reload. It's most likely a bug on the App Inventor side. Okay, let us know if that fixes it. Otherwise, we will troubleshoot. That seems to be a bug on App Inventor, but we will.
Oh yeah, it's there now. It's there now.
Okay,
Right.
perfect.
That was weird.
Yeah,
Right.
it might just be I don't know, it cached like a older version of the left-hand side. It just didn't update, but who knows? But we will share the screen again. So again, just like Leon did, that was perfect. If you have a question, just feel free to interrupt me and we can fix that as we go. So we have this event handler. When we press the question picture button, click. And from here, we have a if then block that we've put in here, just to recap. And from here, we've taken out a link label.visible block, and we can take out two sets of these. So I think actually what we can do is just go here and it should have the option to set the visible blocks. And from here, we want to pull out logic, a true block, and a false block. So just to make sure everyone's caught up, we have these examples here. And let's snap them together. So, so if the link label is visible, so we want to snap these blocks together so that if the link label is visible, visibility is set to false, otherwise it is set to true. So we can have a set here and set here. So this should return a Boolean value. A Boolean is basically just a condition, whether something is true or false. And yeah, it actually says that right here. I keep forgetting that as a feature, but if the label is showing, it should give us true. If it's not, it'll give us false. So that'll be basically the condition we test for in the if statement. So do that. So if it is showing, then obviously we actually never mind, it's opposite. So if it is visible, we set the visibility to false. And wait, never mind. So that if the link label is visible, visibility is set to false. Otherwise, it is set to true. Yeah. So if the link label is visible, set the visibility is false. Otherwise, it is set to true. Yeah. So basically, if it is visible, we set it to false. Otherwise, we set it to true. I am not getting the intuition for the exact reason it's flip-flopped like that, but I think it will explain it better in the following step. So we will come back to the reason for why that is. Okay, perfect. So move on. So we will check for a correct answer. The users can select an answer by picking from the list picker. So after they pick an answer, event is triggered. So we'll take out an event block when list picker 1 dot after picking. And then we can pull out one of these event blocks just like we did there. And then go here, the selection index. There it is. And actually, I think the reason for this, kind of think of it, is if it is visible, we want to change it back to the other thing, basically to revert its, I think. Let me just make sure, because it is actually strange that it says like this. Maybe this is a typo, but we'll see. We'll just go on with this And if it works, it works. Okay, moving on. Okay, so we have the list picker one.selection index, and this gives us the index of the answer the user picked. And the answers that we want are given in this pre-made little list here, which gives us the right answer for each of these questions that are listed above, actually here. And these are just good question options for the 3 questions. And we have 4 answer choices. And this is giving an index that basically tells us like which of these options, 1, 2, 3, 4, is the one for that question that is correct. So, so we have this here, list picker 1, selection index, correct answers are given under there. And in this code, what we can do is get another if statement, an if then else, put it underneath here. So if this is equal to the select list item, so what we can do is get the math here, get equals, and generally speaking, App Inventor, I'll correct myself if I am remembering correctly here, but in other languages, generally, you can't compare using 2 strings, 2 text values with an equal sign. But in App Inventor, they just kind of simplify it, and you can just use this equal sign to compare, like to text as the same. Usually there's like a separate function, say like string compare or something that you would use instead. But this is something that MIT App Inventor does that makes it nice and simple. So we can do this. Select list item. From list, get global answers. Duplicate. And then get global answers, get global index. So get the, we basically want to show that the answer that the user is choosing, we want that to be the one that is actually the answer key. So let's say the user picked like 2. Then for question 1, if that equals 2, then we execute, something that will probably happen, that we want to happen if the user got it right. Otherwise, if they got it wrong, then something else will show up. So like this says, it basically is showing what we do here. So to increment, decrement the score, all we have to do is go to math here, and we can basically set this value. But let's see if it wants us to do this on our own. It doesn't actually, but what we basically do is intuitively, we're just setting this value scores that we've defined as 0 starting out. And we kind of similarly to what we did earlier when we were adding 2 values, I think in the last project, as an increment and a decrement, but we can just grab this set thing here, we'll duplicate it, and then we will go to math, and we can just use this to, this is not the right symbol, sorry. We can basically, add the previous value, which in this case would be the current value of scores, and then add the next value of scores, make the next value of scores by adding 1. And that's an increment, whereas if we, subtract 1, that's a decrement. So in this case, we can add 1 if they get it right. Otherwise, we don't want to add it. So let's set the global score specifically. Same here. So I think it actually doesn't want us to do the incorrect answer yet, so we'll wait on that. But for the time being, we grab this, change this to 1, snap this together, set global score to score equals 1. So we have to get global score as well. So we're basically taking this previous global score value and adding 1 to it. So what that does is just, every time the user gets it right here, so, looks at the that question number, which is represented by index in the answers list. And if that matches what the user put as his answer or his or her answer, then we add 1 to the score by just adding 1 to the current score value. Otherwise, we're probably gonna, I think, subtract 1 here is what it's gonna say. So finally, then we can do a set score label.text. Put them right below here. Get a join block under the text. And all we're going to do is we're going to take this score as like a static string. And we can put a space here so it doesn't combine it without a space. And then we just go to variables, get global score. And this just combines it so that we can showcase it on the screen here. So it changes score label, which in this case is this part that says score equals 0, because we want, of course, them to have a score that is reflective of the number of questions they've gotten right/wrong. So moving on, we can now handle even more stuff with the correct answer. So from notifier 1, we will call a show alert. And from here, connect an empty text box under text. So this is here. And all we can do is send a little congratulatory message like, good job, you got it right. And just put this under here. And this will just flash something on the screen when the user gets it right. So we also want to increment the index variable to move on to the next question when they get it right. So all we have to do is what they want us to do, all this, unless we could do this also by scratch, is get this and change score to index and just basically put this under here. I'm pretty sure. Let me double check. So we increment the index variable, and move into the next question, and put the change score, and we should be able to just put this here. And then they want us to do the call set question procedure for the next question. So all this does is to go back from the beginning. After picking an answer, what it does is it checks if that answer that we picked is indeed the correct answer in the if statement. So if this is true, then we take the score variable and then we just add 1 to the score, because basically that means that the person got the question right, and we want to reward them a point for getting it right. So afterwards, once we do that, it then sets the score label here, which is just showing the user's current score. It starts at 0, but we wanted to get the actual current score, which we're keeping track of with this global variable here. And we're just adding, and we've already added 1 to it. We can just update what it shows here. And then we call this thing called a notifier, which will just flash something on the screen that says, good job, you got it right. And then from there, what we want to do is we want to set global index here. Sorry, I noticed a mistake here. To get the current global index and add it to 1, or add 1 to it. So adding 1 to the current global index just means that we're moving on to the next question, because the user's already answered this current question. And to re-render the page, again, this is why we set a procedure in order to save space. But instead of having to copy all this code, again, at the bottom here, we just have to call it this very elegant set question procedure at the bottom, and that will update our screen for us. So in this case, we have set the index to 1 higher. So then here it will show like question 2, the new question, the new answer choices, and the new score as well, which we have defined previously up here. So that's what it does. Now we want to handle a wrong answer. It's going to be pretty similar, but what we want to do is we can also just duplicate this. This will just delete, although we could have modified it. And instead of adding 1, we want to subtract 1. I think there is a subtraction, but what we could also do is add -1, I'm pretty sure here, but we'll just use a subtraction tool. So we are now actually subtracting this score to deduct points for getting it wrong. So we can then duplicate this. Should be the same because we have now modified this global score here. So we don't have to change anything since this has been changed. or this is the only thing that's been changed so far. And then we want to also duplicate this, but we want a different reaction instead. We could say like, oops, you got it wrong. And then from here, it'll tell us to kind of do similar stuff here again. So I think it doesn't want us to set, I think they want us to keep trying until we get it right. So we won't actually set the index to the next question yet until they get it right. So they basically get, I think, multiple attempts to keep guessing or keep trying to get the right answer. And only when you get the right answer can you move on to the next question. Although, of course, you could set functionalities. You just basically copy this, put this over here, call this again. If you want to just move on if the user gets it wrong. So move on here. There's a restart button. So we'll go to the restart button option. And when it restarts, you want to update the score. We want to update the index. And we want to also call the question. And I mean, this is relatively straightforward, but we'll just all that together, call set question. Make sure this is at the bottom. So the order is important here so that we can actually change these values. But we want to set this to what it was before to just basically restart the game. So score should start with 0 and index. Let me duplicate this. Should be 1. Just like it was before at the start of the game. And that's just how we can refresh the screen. So we can also actually change this thing here, the score label, to also say score equals 0 again. So score label, oops. I don't know why my computer is not letting me select this. Okay, so score label text. And we can just say score :0. And that should leave us to be set. Yeah, that looks good. So from now we can test it out. What I recommend is in general, when you're building projects like this, to test each of these parts one at a time to make sure that they work before moving on. Otherwise, it might be difficult down the line to figure out where the error came from. But since we're just doing a demo and following the steps here, we don't necessarily have to do that. But when you're building something, it's generally smart, like you mentioned yesterday, to test things out one at a time, iteratively. So basically make one part of the app and then test that, make sure it works, and then move on to the next part. I think there's actually a name for that, if Dr. Meng remembers what it's called. It's like a type of software development. But in general, I know that's kind of like the strat you can follow. So let's actually make sure this works, that we didn't skip anything or make any mistakes. What we'll do is open the MIT App Inventor thing again, and it'll give me time to connect. But again, if you have any questions or anything, just please type it in the chat or just speak up, and we will get those addressed. Okay, sorry, my MIT App Inventor is taking a bit of a long time to load. So we'll double check for any bugs. Make sure that the functionality is working. If this will load, let me just actually restart it because it seems like it's not loading. So let's share the screen here for the tablet. And awesome, we have our front end with the question. And let's see if we can get the question here. Okay, I think there's actually an issue here. It seems like it's supposed to display a question and a image, but it doesn't seem like anything's picking up. So let's go back to the code and figure it out. One issue that the image might have is that the source is actually outdated, so that the image is gone, because it's showing a URL here, but it seems like there is actually no image. So there's a good chance that the image just doesn't exist at that source anymore, but we'll double check that after we test the other functionality. So here we can click on one of the answer choices. In this case, I remember that I think it was 2, maybe. We'll just type in the second answer. And yeah, we got it right. It tells us that we got it right. And we move on to question 2. Another small thing was that this question 2 doesn't have a space. So we can go back and add a space there. So it's good to just go back and test it, because sometimes when you're building stuff, you overlook these things. But also, it's just good to make sure that that works. So here we get the image. So most likely our hypothesis that the previous image source doesn't exist anymore is correct. So from there, we could add a new image of Donald Trump, or just change the question altogether. In this case, we got the concept down, so we will just move on. But here, we'll test a wrong answer. Never mind, I accidentally got it right. So we'll move on to the next one instead, which is question 3. We'll just send 1. Oops, we got it wrong. Gives us another attempt, and you can see that our score went down. So let's actually finish this game. Yeah, what's up?
Hey, my bad. I think this might again be an issue on my part, but like, why does my image not change?
Oh, your image doesn't change. Most
Yeah.
likely, does it stay? We've already kind of demoed this, so I'll just stop sharing. What image does it show then?
So, no, the image shows, like, it still says question 1, the Donald Trump one, but when I pick the right answer, it just lets me keep farming the right answer and doesn't switch to anything new.
Did you call the set? Did you call the procedure at the bottom of when you get it right?
Where's that?
So let me share my screen. So your Donald Trump image actually showed up, is what you're
Yeah.
saying. Okay, then maybe I accidentally edited a string by mistake here, because this is not showing up, or maybe it's just a glitch, who knows? But it's not letting me access the image. Here, Trump example.png. Actually, that doesn't really make sense. Yeah, I will look into that actually.
Probably ugly, yeah.
Because the other ones showed, so that means the logic part isn't wrong. Let's see. Yeah, that's odd. We'll just look at that again later. But anyways, the set question, you should call this here, and that should refresh it. So it's not changing the question 2 either, right?
That is there.
Actually, do you want to? So it's just not changing the image straight up.
It's not changing the image or the question, and it keeps letting me use the same answer over and over.
Okay, so my hunch is that this is the issue. If the question isn't updating. Did you call everything under set question here as well?
Yeah, but John, let me give you a suggestion. Can you publish this to the gallery and share the gallery link
Sure.
to it?
Absolutely.
Images, links.
I am
Connect.
Okay,
Go to
sorry.
connect.
Published.
No. Oh, well, there is a publish to gallery. Look at the go right.
Go right
Move
here?
right, move right, move right, keep right, keep right, keep right. Go further.
Wait, further.
No,
yeah,
not
I'm
here.
sorry.
Yeah,
my,
right. Go down.
my,
Go down.
right here. Sorry. My
Left,
Zoom.
left,
It was
left.
left.
Go
Oh,
left.
I am
Yeah,
stupid. It's right
yeah.
here. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, so publish to gallery, and from here, we will just share the
Oh,
code.
yeah, you're gonna go to the previous tab. Still go to the second tab. Go to projects. Look at the projects. Yeah, my projects. Okay, great. See here, you're gonna log into gallery. You're gonna do that once, and then you can do that. Yeah, this is weird. Right. And then you can go to your go to the second tab. Still go to the second tab.
So go back to the project.
Yeah,
and
go
then
back to the
press publish to gallery.
Right. It will. It will.
Okay, awesome. So then we'll say lesson two app inventor. Maybe it's more accurate to say day 2. And then credits. I just get that. And then some. Oh no.
Yeah, you have to choose a picture.
I'll pick a random picture.
Yeah, you're gonna pick it, right?
Okay. So awesome. Where did it go? My apps. Yay. So let's get the permalink here and just share it. Okay. So Leon, I recommend just going through there and let's see if you can spot out a difference in your code. It's probably like it seems like one line is just missing somewhere where it doesn't update. Does your restart button work by any chance?
My restart button, start over. Oh, it doesn't. Wait, no, it just puts my score to 0 and does nothing else.
That's odd. So were you the one who also had an issue with the other assets not updating? Like,
Oh yeah.
maybe just if all the code is the same, just try exiting App Inventor and entering it, and maybe that'll update the stuff.
Yeah, I tried I saved and refreshed, and then I'm gonna try reconnecting it.
Okay. I recommend also just testing out that link I sent in the chat, which just has our code. And most likely you're missing a line or two that is updating the image. If I were to guess, let me open this. Does your set question?
I know what his problem might be.
Oh wait, actually, I have a inkling that you didn't change this one part here. Did you change these to images, links, and questions?
Yes. Get global index, images, links, questions option. Yeah, I did.
Okay, and someone mentioned that they had an inkling.
I think when it does the, where is it, global index +1, did he set it to global index, set global index to global index +1, or did he put like score or something?
Oh yeah, you were right. It was score.
Oh wow, that is good.
Wow.
Very impressive, Jack. Maybe you should be teaching this instead of me.
No, I got it wrong earlier too, so I figured maybe.
Oh, okay, I see. I think earlier, I remember I changed this later. So I should have just done it then, but I copied this over and I didn't realize that it was wrong. So I did change it later, but I'm sorry, I should have made maybe a more clear announcement about that, or clear announcement overall. But thank you, Jack. But overall, yeah, it seems to work well. And it does seem to work pretty well, yeah. I think we'll move on unless anyone else has any more questions. Is everyone able to like load the app? It all works. Everything. Does anyone want to showcase it? Brian, we haven't heard much from you. Are you interested in showcasing the app? If you don't want to, it's okay also. Okay, I see Brian is unmuted, but I don't hear anything. I think for the time being, we will just move on to the next project. We have about 25 minutes. So if you have any problems though, you can watch the lecture recording again. But also what you can do is follow the tutorial on the left and ask questions on the Discord, and we can help out there. But yeah, please, if you have any questions, ask now.
John, are you in the Discord group?
I just joined. Yeah.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, I didn't see you yet. So.
Yeah. So I just joined. Sorry, I think I just forgot to join it earlier. Okay. Okay, perfect. So let's move on to the next project. Let me double check to make sure we're doing the right one. Snapchat remix, don't get faked. So we have some extra time. Let's actually go back, and instead of doing the translation app, we can do the sound library. So let's go to sound library here, and I'll share my screen in just a moment. No worries. Exit all the unnecessary tabs so I don't get shut out of the session. And this will be probably the final project we cover for today. And then if we have some leftover time, we can answer any remaining questions and stuff. But overall, I would probably go a bit slower on this since we do have 20 plus minutes left. And don't hesitate if you have any questions to speak up, because we're here to help you and answer any questions you have and help you learn the content. So this challenge has, I think it seems like you can just record a sound, stop a sound, or excuse me, recording, and then play it back, stop it, erase it. This is actually very useful in general if you're working with audio. I was working on this one project this summer that can take audio and apply like a machine learning model to it to transform it and then replay the audio back on like a phone. So, this basic functionality, although App Inventor does simplify it a bit, is still very applicable. And the logic that you can learn here can make really cool projects down the line. So what, seems relatively, like simple with block code in a way, at least, simple compared to like written code, right? Which might be more daunting, is actually, very useful and teaches a lot of general logic. So that's, I guess, some motivation there to focus on this and learn it really thoroughly. But in the project, we're going to, capture sounds kind of like a voice memo app on your phone. And, there are ways of expanding this. You can consider some of this functionality when you're working on your hackathon project. Same with the other projects as well. And, to really drive home that previous point of taking what you learn from here and applying it in creative ways to make your own project. I think that's something to always keep in mind. Even if, say, you're beyond the camp and just doing it, say, for like a science project, personal project, school project, etc. It's a very useful thing to learn. So let's go here. Access long-term storage using the TinyDB component of MIT App Inventor. And just to make sure, Dr. Meng, are we supposed to teach the TinyDB stuff today, or is that tomorrow? Oh, I think you're muted.
Sorry. Yeah. So yeah, we can leave it. It's up to you. You can cover part of this, or otherwise we can leave this to the next class. Because next class, you're gonna address the cloud.
I guess then what we'll do is, since we're covering cloud tomorrow,
which is fine.
Right. We can cover this tomorrow, but we can cover the other app and just go through the logic of it, even if it doesn't work.
That's right.
Okay.
Translator is a good topic as well. We should cover it.
Right. So sounds good. I'm just making sure this doesn't have like a login either. Okay, it doesn't. There's probably a sign in, so do that before the lesson. But let's just work on this. This will actually be our final project for today. But this is going to, I believe, just translate stuff. And I'm sure a lot of you have parents who don't have English as their first language, mine included. So I'm sure at one point you've used translator apps for some dictionary that could translate from one language to another. And in general, this is a very useful thing. I'm even on pages on Google, they'll give a Google Translate option to say convert something that's written in, like, for example, Chinese to like English, or Korean to English, Russian to English. And it's very useful, also obviously for communication. So to jump right into the project, we want to add an A label, which is just a label, actually, not an A label. And then we also want to add a text box, another label, and a button. So label, text box, label, and a button. So from here, we can rename this first label to title label, just so we can reference it more clearly here. That's a good habit to keep. Honestly, sometimes when I try to build stuff, I label random stuff just because I'm lazy, like temp1 or like, like var1, var1. But it's good to generally have very clear labels, or excuse me, titles for your variables or labels, just to keep track of what all of them actually are. So that's one tip for building stuff. It's very helpful. So let's title this. I don't remember where the title thing is. I think it's right click probably.
No, it's right. Yeah.
Okay, sorry, my bad. So title label. My keyboard decided to just die. So I will use my laptop keyboard here. Actually, why isn't it not letting me change this? Oh wait, I'm dumb. I can only change this. Okay, so title label. And then change this to that is supposed to be the same actually. Translation label. And change this to translate button. So from here, let's change this text property here for this title label. So we want this to show an instruction. So we'll say enter text to translate below. And for the text properties for the translation label, we can do something similar and say translated text. Actually, we don't want a colon here. And perfect, we seem to match. One last thing is to change this filler text as well. And again, if you want to actually customize stuff, you could change colors here or just do it for the sake of demonstration. But there's some customizability that you can modify for your own apps as well. Okay, so this is the part that is apparently not going to work because there's a boycott. In fact, I don't even think there's an option anymore. But we will pretend like there is the option so that we can just work through it in principle.
Translator is second to last, if that's what you're looking for.
Oh, wait. Okay, I'm trolling. So I guess they just changed the API. So we'll just drag this out. Hopefully it works the same way. Although it is not the same. Oh, wait, is it the same thing? It seems like in this image, they have the Yandex version. So they may probably just change this to a different API and hopefully it works out. But we'll just play along with it. If it doesn't, at least we got the concepts down. So let's go to the blocks. We'll do a translate button and do a .click. Again, this is an event handler. All this does is we have a translate button here. And when we click it, we want it to do something. We haven't told it what to do yet, but we will do that in this next step here. We can click on this translator one and just call it. And all you have to do is, we actually haven't been told what to do yet. So let's go here. So we're going to translate English to Spanish, for example. Let's take text here. English to Spanish. Yeah, let's do English to Spanish. So Spanish. Okay, and let's double check to make sure that this isn't case sensitive. Otherwise, it might not work. If we give an error, we can probably, yeah, I'm actually semi-correct, I think. So they want us to say NS here. Hopefully this works the same. We'll double check the documentation for MIT App Inventor if it doesn't work. But I think, wait, I'm trolling. This doesn't even say two yet. I think this is the same thing. So N-S. So we're going from English to, I guess, Espanol. And this is the input that we can actually grab from here to translate. Sorry, I misread this. So from here, what we'll do is go to text box one and just grab the text value here. And just move this here. And again, like we just said, we're going from English to Spanish. And all we have to do is grab the property of the text here. In this case, the text is empty. So we can actually have a user input text here. And then we are just translating this from English to Spanish. Yeah, okay. So once it is translated, it has another option once it is finished. So let's see, we can click on this again. And then we drag out a got translation. So what this is, once the translation is there, we can have some sort of event trigger to, perform a specific action. And, specifically this, I guess, again, this is a tip. If you want to figure out more about what something does, you can hover over an MIT App Inventor. Even other languages have a lot of features for documentation to figure out what something exactly does. And one tip for building in general is if you don't really understand an error or, you're running into trouble, you can generally just copy paste that error into Google and go onto like Stack Exchange or GitHub has like an issues page as well. And, scroll through, and generally speaking, someone has probably had the same issue as you. And you can go through and fix stuff, change stuff based on the suggestions. So that's one tip if you run into issues. Google is a great friend when you're building stuff like this. So from here, we just dragged out that instruction. So then from here, we go to translation label, set translation label dot text. I actually think that it's better to get a set, sorry, so we can change it. And I guess to reiterate what the difference is here, setting is changing the value to something, whereas we're just here accessing it. So one way to maybe phrase it is we're reading the value here, but here we're actually writing it and modifying it. So let's grab this, set this to, or just in here, go here, get the translation. Oops. And all this is doing is once it is translated, it doesn't automatically put it into this translated area. So what we have to do is we have to call an event handler to tell us or notify us when it has indeed translated, and then set that translation label here into the output that we actually want. So we'll connect that there, and I think we should be ready. And then since we have some time, we'll add some additional modifications just as a proof of concept. Let's actually double check to make sure this works. Okay, so yeah, Dr. Meng is meeting with them to fix it out. I'm assuming this is still Yandex then, if it doesn't work. So chances are this is gonna break, but
I didn't say it works.
okay.
Right. Maybe the block is unblocked.
Yeah, I'm not sure, honestly. I guess this is a moment of truth here. We'll see.
It's good if it works.
Right.
Good for us, at least.
Right. If it works, then perfect. Otherwise, no stressing. So we can type in some English text like banana. Bananas are tasty. Oops, tasty. Yay, it worked. So I guess they did change the API. Probably to like Google Translate or something. So yeah, it works. So Russia didn't ruin something else for us this year. So that's awesome. But overall, it's good that this works. You can use this API. And thank you, Ambrose, for catching that. I was not able to, I don't know, I just didn't notice this as a translator here. But overall, it works pretty well. Let us know if you have any questions from here on out, actually. That was like all we had to cover for today.
Yeah, I think there is a somewhere you can find the code for other languages.
Right.
Is that in the document or in the tutorial?
I assume, yeah, it gives some examples for Spanish, English, and Russian. So it's like ES for Spanish, EN for English, RU for Russian. Let me see if there is more. I'll just Google it, MIT App Inventor, translate language codes.
You're not sharing your screen.
Yeah, sorry, I was just Googling it separately. I haven't shared it yet. You know what, for the sake of it, let's just guess them. I haven't found the exact documentation yet, and we'll probably find it. But here, if you hover over it, it gives examples like Russian. So I'm just gonna guess that French is FR, because in French, it's French and then Francais. So we can also translate to French, which is handy because I took French and not Spanish in high school. So
French is FR.
I would guess it's FR. We'll see.
Well,
If it doesn't
I
work,
found it. Yeah, see the
Oh,
link.
okay.
Check out the link.
awesome. So we'll just show it.
Okay.
Okay, hopefully I guessed right. If I didn't, that's embarrassing. Yeah, it is FR. Okay, so FR, and we can translate to French. In fact, this is kind of ugly, so we can actually change this to, center alignment in the box, and also for the width, we can actually fill the parent so that it fills up this entire thing. Same here, we can fill the parent. And center it. And again, center any of the text we have. Actually, for this, we'll probably leave it as left because we're having the user input it, but also want to fill the parent. And for this, we can also fill the parent. Okay, so I think personally this looks better. Maybe you disagree, but we can just do some small changes here. This is way too big. Just to make this slightly prettier. So let's go here. And let's test it out again. So connect the AI companion. Let's connect the tablet. And feel free to speak up if you've had any trouble connecting the or just getting this to work in general. And then we can troubleshoot. But it's great that the translator works with the different API. So you can use this in your projects as well. Very handy tool. So let me share the other screen here in the last few minutes. And yeah, so we can type in something like my name is John. Translated. And then it changes to Je m'appelle John. And interestingly, it also capitalizes it as well, which is quite cool. Sorry, something is like vibrating like on my phone or something somewhere, but I don't know where it is. But anyways, this works pretty well. So anyways, I don't have much else to say right now, other than, if you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them at this time. And if you run into any difficulty, please, don't hesitate to put it on the Discord and we can answer that ASAP. My username is just my first and last name, and I'd be more than happy to assist in that space. But overall, please just, again, if you have any questions, now is your time to shine. Otherwise, we can go over, other stuff too. Thank you, Dr. Meng. And if you don't have any questions, you are free to go and enjoy your summer too. So bye, Ambrose. Bye, guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for being here for 2 hours in front of
Thank you. Bye-bye.
phone screen or Zoom screen. But best of luck to you guys and see you tomorrow.